Hey there, welcome to the virtual table. Today we're going to cover a fantastic game, and that game is Baldur's Gate 3. And as we dive into this game, I do have one huge gripe, and I'm serious when I say this. And I know I mentioned it in a few forums, and people ostracize me for it, but Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are near and dear to my heart. I love them both. And I was able to have a party of 6 characters. This game only lets you have a party of 4. And I can't tell you how much I hate that. I really dislike smaller party sizes. And I've heard it all. I've heard, well, this is D&D 5e. This is different. You can use smaller party sizes in an adventure in 5e. And I've even had people like try to insinuate that it's designed for 4 or less, and that's bogus. I got the D&D manuals right here in my house. We play it, and 6-player parties are absolutely viable. They have some formulas you need to tweak if you go above, I think it's 4 or 5. I'd have to look. But there's an actual section in the rulebook that covers how to deal with 6-player parties and higher. It just, the hit points and the experience point, like, there's a way you have to calculate it, and, it's 100% covered in the design of 5th edition rules. So I also understand the technical limitations of having more characters on the screen. I'm a fan of the big parties. I want 10 characters if I can. Like, I really love party-based gaming. I don't like the idea of rolling a single character and that's the only character you have in the game. Now, arguably speaking, that is how Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 also worked, and then the other 5 are NPCs you pick up along the way, but you get my point. The point is, I really miss having a 6-player party, and you're going to see that in this next screen where we do character creation. So, it is a legitimate gripe I have with this game, and it's my largest gripe. I just want more. Now, with that being said, it's a great game. Like, I can separate the fact that it's a great game from the fact that I want 6-player parties. It's still a great game, and let's just get that out of the way. There's a few glitches or creature comforts, like the way it manages inventory, that I would like to see improved. And then whenever you generate your new character, that's actually where my second largest gripe is with the game. But yeah, let's just jump in, and I'll show you, what I'm talking about. And I promise you, my gripes will quickly go away, and my excitement about the game will take over. It's a great game. I have not finished it, by the way. I've played through Act 1. I'm literally at the beginning of Act 2. When I decided to do this recording. So let's jump in. All right, so I think I'm good enough to do tactician, but I don't want to do that in a recording playthrough. Just because I think I'm going to reload the game more frequently with tactician, and I don't think that's fun for a viewer to watch. I am going to definitely reload games in this situation. In fact, I don't know how to avoid it. I'm not that good, and I don't remember where all the surprises are. The other thing I wanted to point out is that this playthrough isn't meant to be like super elite, meaning that if you are here to watch a playthrough that's perfect, you're at the wrong place. I'm going to stumble. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to do all kinds of things I shouldn't do, and you're just here to enjoy the ride or to experience what it's like. I'm not promising you that I got it all figured out and I know every secret in the game. Okay? So with that being said, I'm going to pick the balanced. Don't do Explorer unless you really want an easy mode. Basically, it's easy, normal, and hard. That's what this is supposed to be. We're just going to do normal for now. And there's going to be a story here, so I'll let you watch it. That's disgusting. Okay, I'm not going to reset the tutorials. Alright, so basically, you are with the, oh, I can't remember what those are called, those creatures. Mind flayers. So, that was a mind flayer, and he was putting this little tadpole thing inside of your brain, basically, through your eye socket. And, basically, what happens is you turn into a mind flayer whenever you have one of those in you. Uh, interestingly enough, Baldur's Gate 2 had some sections where you dealt with these mind flayers, and they were annoying because they would constantly do mind control stuff, and your characters would always fail the roll to save against it, and you constantly had to deal with them attacking, each other. It was actually one of the more challenging things in Baldur's Gate 2 to get through, was the mind flayer area. And then there was an Underdark area that was also not very fun. And it's funny because both of those things are the things that I liked least about Baldur's Gate 2. But they're both in this game. And I don't know why they chose to focus on it so much. I haven't played it to completion, so maybe the story will get interesting. Right now the story is a little weak. I mean, it's interesting from the perspective of you have motivation, you know what you need to do, but it doesn't progress very much. There's a lot of side quests and things in this that are fascinating and fun, but have nothing at all to do with the main story. And you could argue it's a weak point to the game. I think Baldur's Gate 2 in particular was very strong in its story, but there was also many sidetracks and distractions there as well. Okay, I promise that the grapes will diminish. This is my one next gripe is, okay, so we're going to create a character. You can choose an origin character, or you can make your own. Now, if you played Divinity Original Sin, it was actually best to pick an origin character. However, creating your own is totally viable in this one. And you will run into these guys at some point, and they will join your party. The Dark Urge, I never found him. I don't know where exactly that one is, but these other ones, we are for sure going to find them, and we're gonna find all of them relatively quickly. Now, there's other characters in the game that can join your party, but you don't find them until later, and I would say much later, like hours and hours and hours and hours later. Next thing to notice is that for the body type, you could do female is body type 1, male is body type 2, and then 3 is the same thing but just gargantuan. I guess they're the Nephilim level. So if you really want somebody big and beefy, you pick 3 and 4. 1 and 2 are normal. Okay, the origin, of course, is this screen, and then you just select along the left here, and you can pick all the different, make all the choices that you need to make for your character. So we have a lot of different races available, and the features of the race are here. So let's get into the gripe. The gripe is, let me think of one that I know for sure. The Githyanki at level 5. They get this ability to I think it's called Windswept or something. I don't quote me on the name, but they get this ability that lets them teleport around the battlefield. It's a spell that mages can have. Anyways, you get that at level 5, and there's nothing here to tell you this. Like, I have no way to see what they get at level 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. It is a huge piece of missing information. Because when you're looking at these different races, you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between them? There's very little difference. However, the fact that the Githyanki get that at level 5, it's a big deal. You know, because maybe that influences like how you want to create your character. I think it's a huge miss. Many games 10, 15 years ago were much better at giving out information, and there's not even like a Civilopedia. You know, if you're thinking about civilization, there's nothing I can click on to get more information. I can't right click. I can't do anything to learn more about what does it mean to have a Githyanki barbarian. And here's the other thing: barbarians at level 4, level 5, level 6, they get things too. And you know, I'm on this barbarian class, and again, it doesn't say, like, you can click on details, and it doesn't tell you anything about what happens. Like right here, look at all this empty space that they could say, hey, at level 4 they gain a feat. At level 5 they gain an extra attack. At level 6, you know, it doesn't say any of those things. Like one of the things I know for a barbarian at level 2, they're going to pick a subclass. So it's completely missing. There's 3 different subclasses that you can choose from. None of that is available here. So it's very, very annoying. Okay, so what are we going to do? One of my temptations is to actually play one of the origin characters instead of making my own. Because here's the deal. If I make my own, I then have to pick 3 of these to join me. Whereas if I am one of these, then I'm picking 3 others to join me. And then I have actually 4 of them in my party. Now, why do I care? I will... So, Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, I was the kind of person that made my own party. I didn't care for the NPCs. I didn't like Jaheira and Khalid and even Minsk, who was very cool. I didn't like where his stats were, and like I wanted more control over my characters. These characters have like really awesome stories and sub-stories with them. That's the first thing. So Shadowheart, for example, she, I'm pretty convinced, was with the Priest of Saloon, and she got kidnapped, and now she's with the Priest of Shar. You know, so she's basically like a dark justiciar, or whatever you call it. So she's like a dark cleric. Gale made some kind of, like, he was trying to impress Mistra, who apparently he was the lover of, and in doing so, he has this thing inside of him that consumes magic. You know, Lizelle, I didn't do much with her, but she's, you know, she's focused on, you know, how to get this tadpole out of her head. Asterion is a very interesting one. He's a vampire. Like, he literally is a vampire. And so, you know, you catch him in camp trying to, you know, he's resisting trying to suck your blood. You know, it's all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, here's the Karlak is, she was imprisoned by a demon. And so she's, you know, got some demonic traits herself. But she's actually got a lot of, like she fought for years to escape from that. And actually has a lot of noble traits as a result. And then Will here is a warlock who made a pact with a demonic creature who is lying to him and sending him on missions that he thinks are noble, but they're really not. And then the Dark Urge, of course, I never played the Dark Urge because that's one of the ones we could be. And the Dark Urge, out of all these, you can change the race and all those things with the Dark Urge, whereas if I play as Astarion, I can't change his race. He is for sure going to be an elf. So, just want to make sure you understand that. So if you choose a custom person, you can change the race. But if you choose one of these, any of them but the Dark Urge, certain things are locked and set in stone, and you can't change them. Like, I can't make him not be a high elf. And the Dark Urge, though, is the one exception. You can have him be a human, and whatever you want him to be. Now, the thing with the Dark Urge is, I've not paved him, but it says something... Oh, and then you can always click on an introduction.
My rancid blood whispers to me. Kill, kill, and kill again. My ruined body yearns to reap death in this world. And when this foul urge calls, it possesses my whole being. Injured beyond repair. I know nothing besides this. I must resist the dark urge, lest it consume my mind. I must discover who I was and what happened to me before my twitching knife hand writes a tragedy in blood.
So it's an interesting thing. I've never played it, so I can't give you any advice with this. I read somewhere, I would swear that it was actually here, that this is not recommended for your first playthrough. So the Dark Urge, you're going to be dealing with some internal forces, and it's going to make your game harder. So I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me it's like, well, maybe let's try this, right? So there you have it. And like I said, I never actually played, for example, as Astarion, so I can make myself him. His voice really annoys me. There's a lot about him that I don't care for. But as far as like an NPC goes, he gets this vampiric bite, so he can actually steal the life out of other people as a result. So if he's a melee type character, so the game makes him a level 1 rogue, but you can change all of this. You can't change it here, but there's not very far into the game, maybe an hour into it, you'll get this guide that lets you change the class of everybody, including your NPCs. You won't be able to change their origin or their race. I don't even think you can change the sub-race, but you can change everything else about them. So anyways, back on point. He is a great melee type character, and yeah, you can make him a barbarian if you wanted, or something that that you know for a fact is always going to be in the front lines. And that vampiric bite of his is actually interesting, because then he can steal some life points. And they all have their own little thing. Like Shadow or Gale, like I said, consumes magic. He's very annoying in that way. But he's a very solid wizard. And does he get any special? I mean, he does get this arcane recovery. I don't know if so. Like, let's say we wanted to be a wizard. Yeah, we get it too. Never mind. So his thing is, he's got just this annoying thing where he eats magic items. They literally just disappear. You get nothing for it, and all you're doing is satiating this magical thing he has inside of him. And like I said, she has this this dark past. She has an artifact that we're going to learn more about as we go, and that artifact is actually crucial to this game. And she had her memory wiped because her mission was to retrieve this artifact, and so her memory of her past is mostly wiped as part of the mission. And we don't fully understand all the reasons why. Like I said, she escaped the 9 hells, and very interesting character. And she does have a lot of so let's see here. She comes with extra. And like I said, you can always do this. Probably does better justice than me.
Years ago, I was sold to the Archdevil Zariel. She put a hellfire engine in my chest and made me her prize soldier. I've escaped now. Thank you, mind flayers. And I've got a few scores to settle. If this engine doesn't burn me to ash first, I'll need people I can trust. An infernal mechanic, and a serious amount of luck. But you know what? I'm not worried. After 10 years in the hells, I can take on anything. I've got my chance at freedom, and believe me, I'm going home.
I'm just going to roll through a few of these because they do a better job than I do.
7 years ago, I was exiled from Baldur's Gate, the city I call home. My name is Will, but the people of the Sword Coast call me the Blade of Frontiers, champion of the meek, defender of the innocent. The truth isn't quite so simple, but they're right about one thing. I hunt monsters, and I always catch my prey. My latest target is a devil, and I'm right on her tail. Once I'm through with her, she'll never escape the fires of the first hell.
Okay, so you can see, like, they actually do a really good job explaining. Let's see how good I did with describing him.
Well met, stranger. You find yourself in the presence of the renowned wizarding prodigy, Gale of Waterdeep. Please, no need to be intimidated. My virtuosic talents once caught the eye of the goddess of magic herself, Mistra, who named me her chosen, and her lover. Thanks to a slight miscalculation on my part, that relationship eventually soured, as did the greatest of my powers. Now I'm merely a humble wizard on the road to redemption. Unless I can find the path to something greater.
I think I did a decent job describing him. So, obviously, I know these ones the best, because the three that I chose to go with me was Astarion, Gale, and Shadowheart. And then, also, I was a paladin. To be quite honest, I'm really enjoying the paladin class. It's always the class that I pick when I play games. Whether it's, the D&D games or even the Pillars of Eternity, I'm always gravitating towards the paladin type of character. I really like the concept. So, with that being said, I don't want to pick another paladin for this playthrough, and I am considering, like, okay, if I want to be Gale, do I have to be a wizard? And the answer is yes, at least for now. I can respec him once I find that guy. I can respec anybody, but I have to be the class that the game decided them to be, at least to start. So that's very interesting. This is the one other one I don't really know the background for, so let's try her.
Since I was born in the cold reaches of world space, I have known but one purpose: to wield a silver sword and ride a red dragon in service of my regent, the Githyanki Queen Vlaakith. My first step on this path is to slay a mind flayer and bring its head to my queen. There is no flesh I will not carve, and no barrier I will not shatter to see it done. I am the one who sunders. I am the Undying Queen's most unshakable warrior. I am Lae'zel of Kalir.
Okay. So what are the choices if we want to be? This is a rogue, a fighter, a wizard, a cleric of Shar, which is a trickster cleric, a warlock, and a barbarian. And then the Dark Urge, I think I can change the class to whatever I want. So if I choose the Dark Urge, I can be anybody, really. Or I can just choose custom, and then I avoid the whole Dark Urge subplot. And that's the path I did. So I chose custom, I chose human, and I was a paladin. Now, getting back to some of this. So why did I do what I did? Among all the choices here, there are certain things that are hidden. Like, for example, the Githyanki get extra bonuses at certain levels. And, of course, you don't know that when you're starting. But the reason I chose a human is because they get this thing called versatility, which lets them pick an additional skill to be proficient in. So if I go to their ability section, you can see their skill proficiencies here, and these are all the skills in the game, and anything that you have proficiency in gets a bonus. So, for example, survival, he currently gets a +0. Survival relies on wisdom, and wisdom is a 10. So let me back up a little bit. 10 is your 0. Basically, it's your normal. So an 8 intelligence means I'm going to get a -1 to all my dice rolls against anything that's an intelligence check. And you can see that right here. -1 to intelligence checks. And wisdom is +0. And then charisma, I'm at 15. And everything is in increments of 2. So if we go 10, 12, 14, this should be a +2. And it is. There you go. So I get a +2 to all charisma checks. And here you can see I get a +3 to strength, because the strength is all the way up to 17, etc. So when you come in here, you're going to see athletics is based off of strength, so I naturally get a +3. So it's just, these numbers you see are just whatever the natural consequences of my stats. And you can see all the intelligence ones have the -1s on them. Okay, so why is being a human valuable, at least for a main character? Well, remember, I chose a paladin, and there's a lot of dialogue in this game. And the dialogue will dictate a lot of things, including avoiding some nasty battles. It could actually get allies to join you in a battle. It could also yield experience points just as much as going into battle, or getting rare artifacts. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that dialogue can do. So a human lets you pick an extra one of these skills. So right here you can see I get 2 just for creating the character, and then because I'm a human I get 1 more. So for example, I can say, okay, I want to be able to persuade people. That's a big one. I got religion and insight already. That's because of my background as an acolyte, which I can change, by the way. So you can make this so you can, I want, be good at athletics. So I can shove and be shoved. And maybe I want medicine, right? And so now you can see I got my list of stuff. Religion and insight's given to me because of my background. And what I can't do, I'm going to get natural charisma bonus to deception, but that's not my strength. Although I still have 1 more, actually. So then I could do, for example, I can add deception to it, so now I can fool people. Typically, deception and intimidation, you're going to do one or the other. I don't see a need to do both, personally. And then, of course, performance. That's more of a bard thing. But yeah, you still get it because you have charisma. And then this will change. So if I drop this down to 10, you can see my numbers dropped. So I'm just trying to help. Now this here is just a bonus. So here I get a +1. There I get a +2. Here's another thing to understand is when I'm at 10 and I go to 11, it spent 1 point. I go to 12, it spent only 1 point. But as soon as I go to 13, it still only spends 1 point. We're going to eventually get there. 14 spent 2 points. So here I'm at 15. I gain 2 points back by coming back to 14. This is a very critical thing to understand. So I can actually spend 1 point here, or I can spend 2 points there. And by doing that, I just made my dice rolls a little bit better for all the intelligence checks. And then, of course, I can still do a +2 bonus, because you get to assign that to any one thing. Then I get to assign a +1 to any one other thing. And I am tempted to do it here, because everything happens in powers of 2. But I could do it there. And then what I'll do is I'll actually subtract this and get 2 points back. I can actually then pump that up to 12. So I can actually get more overall points here by not going, beyond 14 for a lot of these stats. So, and then remember, you can always respec, or like I said, after you go to that guy. So as you gain levels, you can actually come back in here and do this again later. And every 4th level, you get to add 2 more points to these, or you could take a feat. Some of the feats will add points to these and give you some kind of special power, but the feat won't, like, you'll understand it when we get there. You either get to add 2 points, or you can take a feat which adds 1 point and then gives you some kind of power, or just gives you powers. So there's no value in being at 15 versus 14. The 14 is the +2 bonus. A 15, well, actually, I'm sorry, a 15 gets you +3 bonus. So there is actually value. So if I made that a 15, then these go up in bonus, and you can actually see that here. +2 in charisma checks. Oh, I'm sorry. No. It is still +2. So there is no value in being at 15. My apologies. So there's no value in being at 17. It's not until you get to 18 that it finally changes. So I'm going to add the 2 wisdom. Then what that does is that lets all my wisdom skills get an extra +1 to their rolls. Now, all this is great, but I'm not being a paladin. But why am I going through all this? Very big decision you got to make is, do you want to manipulate the dialogues or not? So here's what I mean. You need what they call a face character. And a face character is a character who will be the one doing all the dialogue and being the face of the party. And so let's change the class to like a bard. A bard is a great example of a face character, and you can see like the recommended is they're recommending this, right? So I would drop that down to 16 so I could get 2 points back. And then I would actually drop this to 14 to get 2 more points back. Get him up to 10 for his strength. Although you don't need strength, because bards use, if you use a finesse weapons use dexterity instead of strength. So I'm actually going to leave that as is. Get his wisdom up. And then I still have 2 points. So I could still do that, or actually just use the 2 points to round them out, right? Make him a jack of all trades, quite literally. And then he's also human, so he gets an extra proficiency, which is this one. And here you can see he has his insight and religion again, because we didn't change the background. I'm going to get rid of intimidation. And you can see deception is already chosen. And it's... See if I select something else, you'll see. So deception was the one that was chosen. These two don't show a box because they're covered by this, the background. And you can see I get to choose 3 backgrounds with the bard. So I did performance, persuasion, and then you can choose one more, and there's the world's your oyster. But maybe you don't want a rogue in your party, so you could just choose sleight of hand, and that's going to allow you to pick locks and give you bonus to disarming traps. Which if you're going to do that, I highly recommend one of your points needs to be in that. Now, with that being said, there's a thing where the bard hits level 2, and you don't need this anymore. Because they give it to you. Although you get expertise. There's a lot of pros and cons. But anyways, the whole point is, the bard makes a wonderful face character. Because these skills, persuasion, doesn't help you with combat. Neither does performance most of the time. Or even deception, for that matter. These aren't combat type of items. So you have to really decide, what am I going to do? Am I really going to worry about this or not? The other thing you can do is you can say, hey, one of my NPCs will do that. And you can. You can have Astarion or Shadowheart or any of them be your face character instead of you. Now, what are good face characters? Anybody who relies on charisma. So that would be the bard, the paladin, the sorcerer, and the warlock. They all have charisma as their primary. So you can see charisma is primary. The paladin, actually, charisma is not primary, but you need, for all the spells that the paladin has, the spells are charisma based. So that's the reason why paladins have high charisma. And then, of course, the bard, you can see the star is above the charisma, so that's their most important ability. So any of those make great face characters. Now you could choose a barbarian. Nothing wrong with that. If you use recommended, they got the charisma at 10. These are definitely not recommended. Like, I would not care about deception if I was a barbarian. I would go 100% intimidation. And then, you know, religion and insight probably is not important for a barbarian either. But the point, though, with all this is just, again, the world's your oyster in terms of what you want to choose. And there's not a lot of, there's only really there's only one strength-based proficiency. The rest of these are dexterity, and then you can see the intelligence, and then it switches into wisdom, and then charisma at the end. So, anyways, I know I'm probably talking about this way more than I should, but there's so much analysis paralysis with creating your character. So, when you're choosing your origin, like I said, you're locked into the class for the start. You basically want a balanced party that you don't have to, but obviously to make it easier for your first playthrough. So here's what you need. You need a face character. Or you could just choose, hey, I don't care. So that means every time you have dialogue with people, you're not going to necessarily pass your persuasion check, and you're going to just have to deal with whatever they tell you. That's viable. This game allows you to do that. My son and I are doing a playthrough together. He's a barbarian, and he basically goes, ung, ugga. You know, he has no charisma at all. In fact, he put his charisma down to 8. And he doesn't care. Like, he just wants to smash everybody. And it works. We go around smashing everybody. So, you know, there's no reason to do it. But you have to make a conscious decision. Are you going to have a face character or not? Beyond that, you want somebody who casts spells. You want somebody who heals. And you want damage dealers. And then, utility. Which means, like, lockpicking. So there's your 4 things. You got a wizard that casts spells, cleric that heals, a damage dealer, any of these 2. That's also a wizard that casts spells, and then somebody who can pick locks. So there's your 4 right there. You know, when you're making a custom character, let's just do that for now. What is not covered? There's a monk class. I don't think there's necessarily a monk NPC in the game, although you can respec any of these NPCs to be monks. There's no ranger. There's no druid. And there's no sorcerer. So those are the ones that I have not found in the game at all as an NPC. Actually, there's no paladin either. I just didn't even consider it because I've been a paladin. I think later in the game you get a paladin and a ranger that will eventually join you. But it's so many, like, I've never even discovered them yet. So anyways, so what are we going to do for this particular playthrough? I don't know. So I'm going to pause the video and I need to search my soul. You would think that before I started recording I had this figured out, and I did. I'll tell you, I thought I was going to make a rogue and then go into here and then not take Asterion and just take 3 of these other ones. That was my plan, and I actually might stick with that plan. He's not a bad character though, and in fact I could maybe take him and just make him something else, and then he just doesn't have to be a rogue. That's the tough. So much. I like sorcerers more than wizards, so I played him as a wizard, and he's really good. But he's also he's got AOE. But to be quite honest, some of these other characters that can attack more than once are more useful to me. But anyways, the AOE is nice. I think a sorcerer is nicer because the sorcerer can do things to tweak his spells to do more damage or to shoot double or whatever. We could do the Dark Urge just because I've never done this before, and why not? That would make this playthrough a lot more interesting. Alright. So let's say I was going to do... I can make the Dark Urge a rogue. There's no reason I can't. So here's a couple of things. First of all, I talked about the human getting the extra proficiency bonus. I only recommend that if it's your face character. The extra proficiency is just nice because it gives you more bonuses to your dice rolls to pass checks. Beyond that, the human doesn't really offer too much, just gives you spears and pikes and etc. The Githyanki gives you some nifty spells, and then more as you level up. You'll have to Google what they are, because I don't remember. The Dragonborn is actually a little... I looked it up. They don't really give you much. Right here you can see that all they do is give you movement. But you do get a sub-race you could choose from the beginning. There's a whole bunch. And you can see, like, for example, you get a fire breath, and you are resistant to fire damage. And you get the same thing with red, but with green you have poison, right? And then bronze, you got this lightning resistance. Same with blue. Brass is fire. Black acid. Cold. Yeah. So some of these are repeats. So it's really just what color dragon do you want to be, right? Both gold and red both have the same. So you do get a fire breath. I was told that it doesn't ramp up as you level up, so that 2 to 12 damage is all it is. And so at the beginning of the game it's useful, but towards the later game it's rather weak because it doesn't do a lot of damage. And so just keep that in mind. The resistance to fire damage is probably the nice part about this, but it only, of course, is going to help you in very specific spots in the game. Alright, so the cool thing about being a Dragonborn is that if you're a sorcerer, there is actually a subclass of sorcerer right here called Draconic Bloodline. So that's very thematic. And so what happens is you get an armor class of 13 when you're not wearing armor, and your hit point maximum goes up by 1 for each level. It's not a lot of hit points, but every little bit counts, especially when you're a sorcerer. The wild magic is very interesting, but basically every now and then you just have a chance that something crazy is going to happen, and that craziness could be it turns you into a sheep. So you actually turn into a sheep for a few rounds right in the middle of combat. But it also sometimes means you do double damage. Like, it's wild and random what happens to you. And then the storm sorcery, I don't remember all the details, but as you level up, right now at the start, you can fly as a bonus action, which can be handy to be able to fly. But as you level up, you're actually going to get all kinds of bonuses to... you're going to want to really focus on lightning attacks, because lightning is going to be your friend. Now, here's one more thing. Friendly fire is a real deal. So when you cast a fireball spell, you are going to do damage to everybody around you. However, when you're a wizard and you're the evocation class, you actually are immune to that, or there's a really low chance of that happening. And then the sorcerer also has the ability to spend points to make their spells do less friendly fire. So there's ways to get around it, but some of the sorcerers and wizards, when you cast those AoE effects and you hit your own party members, you are going to damage your own party members. So bear that in mind. And I bring that up because the storm sorcery is, that lightning bolt spell is very erratic because lightning will bounce off of walls and do all kinds of stuff. So, also, this game's real big. Like, you're gonna have like under the cantrips, you're gonna want somewhere should be a summon water, and maybe I need to be a blue. Okay, so it's not showing up here, but you're going to get this ability that lets you summon water. And then what you do is you could use it to like put people out if they're on fire. That's one helpful benefit. The other one though is you put water on enemies, so you make them wet. And then when you shoot them with a lightning bolt, you do double damage, or you get a bonus to your damage. So there's a lot of that kind of creativity in this game, and you don't necessarily need to be an expert at it, but there's a lot of wonderful tactics that you can do. So I want to tell you that the Storm Sorcery is a pretty cool idea. I've never tried it. So it's actually something I'm considering. The Draconic Bloodline is the most safe one, largely because the extra armor class is always welcome, and then the extra hit point. You know, it just keeps you alive longer. Now, how do I play my wizards? That's really what this boils down to. My wizards are my sorcerers. I like to cast Magic Missile more than anything else. And I know that's crazy, and some people think that's crazy, but Magic Missiles never miss. And there's only a very few times where I run into a creature who's immune to it. And so I can cast Fireball, I can cast all these things that do this massive amount of damage, but I constantly encounter that the creature resists it or it misses. Now, sometimes when they resist, they still take half damage, but the miss is what drives me nuts, because if you miss, it doesn't even hit them at all. And the magic missiles never miss. And so I like that. Now, if I'm doing magic missiles, then I'm not doing storm sorcery. Does that make sense? But, the other thing I'm contemplating is, instead of being a sorcerer, I've never played a druid ever in my life. And the Act 1, you're interacting with druid type stuff the entire game. I think there's so much in Act 1 that would benefit you if you were a druid. But it's sort of like, there's a reason I've tried druids in other games, and it's never my play style, because I hate, so like if you morph into a bear, then you can't cast spells. It's that whole concept of having to, like, you can do certain things when you're a bear, you can do certain things when you're not a bear. That tends to be the stuff I don't care for. The monk is also one that I never figure out very well. Like, I always try to play one, but I'm never good at. So I'm not going to try to do either of those for this playthrough. The one that I also am very interested in is the ranger. So the ranger has a favorite enemy, of course, and then you get to pick your bonus. So I can, for example, gain resistance to poison, resistance to fire, resistance to cold, and then of course, based on my dragon type, I can actually already have a resistance to one of those. And then this one gives me proficiency in sleight of hand, which will allow me to steal. So basically, not just steal, but also pick locks. So then you don't necessarily need a rogue. And I actually find that to be really powerful. You do have to pick a background. And, here's the thing. Because this is what it is. Cannot be slain by sword or spell, haunts your mind and flickers in your vision. You carry it with you wherever you go. That's the Dark Urge. So if I pick like a custom, then I can choose any other type of. So for example, you can do sleight of hand bonus here, and then for this, you can choose Urban Tracker. And when you look at sleight of hand, I do have a +5 bonus, but it's not a double bonus. So that's probably a waste. So I don't want sleight of hand in my background. What would be a good one? That's actually a very decent one for a ranger. And then you can pick... Oh, the other thing I want to say, Beast Tamer. In the older ones, you always had like a bear or a wolf. I'm going to hit T. The familiar on this, they stink. They absolutely stink. You get a raven, a crab, a spider, a cat. I can't remember the rest. Oh, a frog. And they have like 2 hit points, so they die easily. So they're not meant to help you in combat. And the best one is probably the raven, just because it has more mobility. But it consumes a spell, and they're useless. They don't do anything for you. So I really love the idea of, you know, a Davy Crockett, you know, a Grizzly Adams type of character. But the game sort of stinks in that regard. So I would recommend the Urban Tracker, so you could get sleight of hand bonuses. And then, of course, those are 2 nice. So you get bonuses from that. So now you go here. We take the recommended, and so the 17 dexterity. Remember the trick. Reduce it to 16. Get those 2 points back. It doesn't change the bonus at all. And then with the wisdom, you can get 2 more points back. So now you can crank that up, and you can even upgrade your talking points, so you can still persuade people if you need to. Or you could just move that up so you get the extra Constitution bonus. See, I can only go to 13 because it takes 2 points to go to 14. So, or you could just, yeah, since dexterity is, you know, you want to get this to 20 eventually. So you could just do that, but there's no harm in doing that as well. And then, like I said, you can always respec later. So that helps you in the early game to get as much bonuses to your dice rolls as possible. And yeah, you go in here and you can see we're getting 3 bonuses, even as of Dragonborn. So Ranger is actually really sweet. But you can see the bonuses are very specific to certain skills. So nature, perception, and then we have stealth. So this would go hand in hand to make a nice, you know, thief type character. Then we don't need to have a rogue in our party, for example. Or if I back up, make him a human, you're going to notice I got 1 more now. So now I can put 1 somewhere else. So they put it in persuasion, but I could be like, no, I want, you know, animal handling, right? Because I'm going to be a ranger. So why wouldn't I want animal handling? So now you got 4 proficiencies, and there you go. So we got nature, perception. So survival's automatic, and athletics is automatic. So that would make a great ranger. And at level 2, you get to pick a subclass of ranger. And there's 3 different ones. I don't remember all this stuff. But that's also a character I'm very strongly... I would really like to play. They make great... There's one of the subclasses is archery. Let's see. So this one, I'm basically hunting mages. So True Strike lets me get an advantage on my next attack, whatever that is. Ranger Knight, I gain skill proficiency in history and armor. And I can wear heavy armor. So what that changed is I now have history skill proficiency as well, which is not bad. The heavy armor is probably the bigger thing that gives you. But be careful. Heavy armor has, if you're planning on doing rogue stuff, you might get penalties with your sleight of hand. This one gives you proficiency in religion, and you can cast Sacred Flame, which is a cool little spell, but I find enemies resist it a lot, meaning that you end up not doing any damage. If anything, though, it gives you a nice passive bonus. So we were able to get 2 bonuses from that, 3 bonuses from this, and then 2 from... I mean, you're getting a lot of proficiencies here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 8 proficiencies as a ranger. That's pretty awesome. So that's, to me, is like where the value is of a ranger. Let's see, Keeper of the Veil. You get Arcana, and then this one can be useful. The nice thing about this one is it lasts forever. So you cast it, and it lasts until long rest. Now, the problem is see that word concentration? The moment the enemy hits you, you lose concentration, and then you lose a spell. So that's the only problem with that. And then Bounty Hunter, you get proficiency in Investigation, and creatures you hit with Ensnaring Strike, which is a ranger melee, get disadvantage on their saving throw. So there's a lot of really cool choices here. I don't know what to pick, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do the Dark Urge. So let's try that. I've never tried it before. There's all this extra stuff. I will stay as a Dragonborn. We're going to do blue. I want the Lightning Breath. Yeah, I want the Lightning Breath. And blue looks cool. You can edit your appearance however you like. Oh, I sort of like that. Man, you can do this forever, can't you? There's even chins. Holy cow. And jaws. Sure. And you got your skin color. And you can change your body art, your eyes. Looks like different types of shadow. Then your tail. Oh, interesting. So no tail on him. We want a tail. We totally want a tail. Alright. So there's our dude. And I think we should be a sorcerer because, you know what? We have dragon in our blood, so why wouldn't we want to be a sorcerer? Let's do it. And then we can be the face character like I was talking about. I do want to be a ranger at some point. I'm debating the rogue thing. No, we'll do sorcerer. Let's pick our 4 cantrips. So we get to pick 4, and those 4 are going to be known by him. So I'm going to unselect everything, just because I like to select my own. We definitely want Firebolt. I use this spell more than anything else with my wizard when I had that. Okay, this illuminates area. Not very helpful. This gives you advantage on charisma checks. So the problem is you have to remember to cast this before you go into dialogue with people. And I don't always remember to do that. But these spells, all of these are infinite cast. So you don't have a limited number. So I can cast this like all the time. So it's not the worst thing in the world. True Strike, like we said, you get advantage on your next attack roll. But the issue here is it takes 2 turns. You have to spend 1 turn to put it on you, and then the next turn to actually use it. I don't like it for that reason. Poison Spray can do a lot of damage. Constitution save is something that people tend to save a lot. There are items in this game that double your poison damage though. But remember, we're going for lightning. We're a lightning character, so the problem with Shocking Grasp is you have to be next to whoever you're fighting. And it has advantage on creatures with metal armor. But the thing is if anybody does get next to me, I want to be able to do a lot of damage to them. Ray of Frost sometimes will actually leave them wet, which is something that we do want. Light. There's ways to get this spell outside of your cantrips, but there's actually a spot in the game where this was super handy to have. I don't necessarily need 4 damage spells. Like, you might have somebody that's immune to fire, so therefore you also want acid splash or poison spray, so that way you at least cover it. But what I would do is I would say, let's take Ray of Frost, because whoever's immune to fire is going to be vulnerable to frost, and vice versa. Like, you always want to take the opposites, right? So then we got one more, and I want this to be more utility. So illusion, yeah, so what this does is this distracts the enemy. It just makes it so maybe they spend a turn not attacking. Mage Hand is interesting. You can actually use it to steal things or manipulate something from far away. I like the idea. I wish I had a fifth one. I'm actually planning on taking light. This is not a bad one, though. I'm almost tempted to maybe remove Firebolt, since I'm going to be a lizard or lightning type of person. Yeah, I'm going to remove Firebolt, even though I really do love that spell. This one does 1 to 8 damage. That's 1 to 10. We'll do Mage Hand and Light. So we're going to put 2 utilities and 2 attack. Okay, and then we get 2 spells to start. When you're a sorcerer, with a wizard, you could learn all these spells. You just have to find the right scroll to let you learn them. But when you're a sorcerer, you can't do that. Whatever you learn, this is all you can cast. But you can cast it a lot more frequently. You know me, I love my magic missile. There's a lot of things here to choose from. The mage armor is excellent. It lasts until you long rest. And it is not a concentration one. So you would see concentration down here. So that means that even when they hit you, it doesn't go away. It increases your armor class to 13. And plus it's a dexterity modifier. Now, one of the things I know from just researching the game and watching a few videos from people is if we take the draconic background that increases your armor class to 13, they don't stack, meaning that this mage armor is worthless if you take the draconic background. But we're not planning to take the draconic background. So the other one here is Thunder Wave, which is a thunder attack. And I don't know if that's necessarily... that is Storm. So Storm Sorcery here. I'm wondering if that counts as a... it should. But I think right now, this is a great spell, but it's very close proximity. I'm going to choose the Mage Armor. These are better. We are going to try the Storm Sorcery. I've never done this before, so we'll do that. And then we got this background that's already chosen for us. I don't have much say in that. And what are they recommending? I would generally agree with these. The Constitution is really high on this. I don't need the extra point in Constitution. It doesn't do me anything. I would rather take the extra point in Dexterity, so I get the +2 bonus there. And then the Charisma, you can see the +2 in Charisma is probably not a bad idea, but I'll reduce it to 16 to get 2 more points and get that Wisdom up, just because I want extra bonuses to my dice rolls. And that's how I would do it. And like we said, we can change this later. And oh, hold on. Yeah, Charisma is what's used for my spells. So it's more important than these. 17, by the way, is the highest you can go. You can't make it go above 17. And here I can show you. If I take 2 points away, see it's all grayed out. Even if I have 4 points. So nothing you can do to make it go higher. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Persuasion is a great one, because we're a character, right? This is going to be our facing character. Intimidation comes from our background, which is interesting. That means we're going to be more in people's faces. Medicine we get from our background, and we get 2 to choose from. So they chose Arcana, which is not bad since we're going to be a mage type of character. And Persuasion. We could choose a religion, insight, or deception. Yeah, I'm okay with that. So obviously if we chose a human, we'd get one more. Sorcerer is not the best at getting a bunch of proficiencies. Right now the bonus is 2. So anything you're proficient in, you get a +2 to your dice rolls. This does increase as you level up. It eventually goes to, I think, +4. So anyways, I know that was a lot. We're an hour and 6 in, and we just finished creating a character. So I'm going to hit proceed, and we'll go through, I think, another sequence of stuff, and then we'll actually play in the next video. So the character's name is the Dark Urge. That would actually get me YouTube banned if it's interpreted the wrong way. We are the Jeff channel, so what is a good name? I don't want to name it Jeff. That's actually the name of my personal playthrough. And I don't want to confuse my save files. We could call it Jeff YouTube, but that's boring. Yeah, we'll stick with the name. How about that?
You need a guardian.
Oh, I forgot about this. Crap. Okay, so you get this guardian person, and you get to create it to be whoever you want. You can make the guardian a male. I'm going to choose a female, just because I don't know any better. And it looks like I can't do Dragonborn, which is interesting. Oh, I forgot to mention the smaller characters, the dwarf, the gnome, and the halfling. They can crawl into holes that the other characters can't. And this game is riddled with holes. So sometimes there's a door you can't open, and then you can crawl into a hole and then unlock the door from the other side. So these smaller characters can do that. But the guardian is not with you in the party. They talk to you in dreams. And they exist, but they're somewhere else. And part of the game is you're trying to find your guardian, and you're working together to overcome your issue. So we just gotta pick one here, and I know I'm spending a lot of time thinking about this. We'll do half elf. I never liked that hair though. It's a weird looking. That's also weird looking. Hold on. There you go. That's more kosher. And then let's see the. Let's reduce the makeup. Eyes are fine. I like that. This is more just what I like.
Remarkable.
Good luck. Follow your
Remarkable. Truly.
Now there's this, oh yeah, you can change them to wood elf. I don't like how they changed the hairstyle again. Yeah, we'll do that. And then the hair color, I just like anything that's not white. Like the other one was. Alright, I know I wasted way too much time on that, but let's venture forth. Okay, so the video is coming to an end here, and then I'll stop the recording and we'll do as soon as it gets to. I think I'm going to be taking control here in 2 seconds. So what you just saw, and I'm not a big into the D&D lore.
Head thrums and pounds. That pounding blood obscures who you are. An overwhelming loss of memory. How you ended up amidst these hellish flames is just as hidden. You have nothing.
I'm gonna
in
be
your skull,
the Dark Urge with the
besides your name
Storm
and a headache.
Sorcerer.
But you are in
So we're
danger.
gonna try that out in my playthrough here. I'm talking to my son Jason. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get through this real quick.
The dark urge. What have you will claw back the truth?
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and
My head.
save the game here. So what you just saw, and I don't know the lore very well, but so that was a nautiloid, which is pretty rare. The mind flayers put this tadpole in you, and if you'll notice, there were dead mind flayers on the nautiloid, so that means that there was an internal war going on between them. And the Githyanki were the ones that were on the dragons attacking them, and they ended up in this demonic realm, and now they're basically the nautiloid's damaged, and the demonic folks are attacking the nautiloid at the moment, and then we are in these pods, and so we just came out of the pod. So that's where the game's going to start, and we'll do that in the next video. Thanks for watching. Stay awesome.